It's Tuesday, March 10th, and this is your Barbados Today Evening News Update. Barbados Today ramped up its response to the rapidly spreading coronavirus, which has now reached the English-speaking Caribbean with one case confirmed in Jamaica today. Prime Minister Mia Mottley summoned her ministers, opposition political leaders, the social partnership, health authorities, religious representatives and other key stakeholders to closed-door talks at the Barbados Hilton. When they emerged hours later, Mottley, who noted the potential crippling effect of the virus, made it clear that Barbados will move forward as one as the island shifts from a state of preparedness to readiness.
We are conscious that the arrangements that we have to put in place have to be guided by a few principles. One, that we must seek first to stop transmission and prevent the spread. And if that doesn't fully work, we must then slow transmission and prevent spread. And finally, Plan C is to slow transmission and to reduce impact.
Mottley assured the island has adequate isolation facilities with a total of 102 beds. She revealed plans to seek Parliament's approval this evening for just over $8 million to fund the preparedness efforts. The Prime Minister is also paying close attention to possible economic fallout. She outlined the possible scenarios but assured that a plan is in place to protect Barbadians and the economy.
A 25% decline in tourism revenue, a 50% decline in tourism revenue, and a severe case of an 80% decline over 6 months. 25 to 50% will come within the 3-month period. This has not only implications at the macro level for the hotels and their owners, but at the micro level for the workers and the suppliers to the hotels. And therefore, the government has taken a firm decision that we will undertake counter-cyclical fiscal policies. A lot of fancy words for saying that we need to spend money in order to make sure that if a man can't work fully or a woman can't work fully within the tourism sector, that there will be other areas of economic activity in the country that we will now trigger or expedite in order to be able to keep as many people working as possible.
Acting Chief Medical Officer Anton Best assured the island is fully mobilized, and he outlined the national plan.
The plan is there to coordinate the framework for the national response for COVID-19. It offers guidance to stakeholders in developing their own individual plans. And once again, this is all of government. So we have 4 stages of the plan, starting at stage 0, where we are right now. And each stage, each of the 4 stages have specific triggers which will implement, or rather be the impetus for certain actions from the various stakeholders. So when we get our first suspected case, for instance, we will stand up the National Emergency Operations Center and activate the isolation centers. When we have in-country human-to-human transmission, that will trigger stage 2, and then a series of actions to follow. And then we have the 4th and final stage, which is stage 3, at which point we will declare a state of emergency, and any additional supplementary facilities that need to be put into action will be open.
The national plan has the full buy-in of key stakeholders. President of the Barbados Private Sector Association, Edward Clark, assured the business community will provide all necessary support to the country, and he gave the assurance that his association will not be tolerating any price gouging or hoarding.
This is not something that we should tolerate in Barbados, and I certainly will not be someone tolerating such price gouging anywhere in Barbados. We believe that even the hoarding of supplies is something that should be discouraged. I think we all need to understand that the weakest link is still a problem for us. It has no sense for those that can afford to hoard not to allow those that don't have to procure, because that person that doesn't have is the weakest link. So we must all protect ourselves, protect our country from that basic situation. We must all be selfless and not selfish at this time. There's no greed needed in Barbados at this time.
For his part, opposition leader Bishop Joseph Adderley described the coronavirus as a threat to national well-being. He said it's an opportunity for all Barbadians to be part of the solution.
Our trade connections, our trade connectivity, our reliance on tourism, the tough economic times that we are already facing even before this crisis. It creates almost a perfect storm for us. And Barbadians have really got to respond to this with full spirit and with prudence.
President of the Democratic Labour Party, Verla de Pisa, labeled the Delhi virus as a hiccup in the country's development, but she's confident Barbados has the capacity to withstand the pressure once citizens unite and adhere to health directives.
The call then is to all Barbadians to take their individual steps in terms of their own hygiene, to take their steps within their communities in terms of sharing information and not misinformation. And the call then is on all Barbadians together as a nation to do what is necessary to protect ourselves. And in protecting ourselves in terms of our physical well-being, we will also be doing our part in preserving our country. Because at the end of the day, all of us have a part to play. All of us have a role in this society. And we have to ensure, not just in terms of our health, but in terms of our economic position, that we do all that is necessary to move this country to the next stage.
General Secretary of the Barbados Workers' Union, Tony Moore, praised the united effort of the country's stakeholders, and she appealed to Barbadians to take care of self and country.
We cannot say it enough, and we have to, you as permanent secretaries and leaders within the public sector, you also have an obligation to make sure you spread the message of good personal hygiene. As Barbadians, as citizens, as people, we take a lot for granted. And this is not the time to be panicked, as everyone is saying, but this is the time to be cautious and be cognizant of how our actions impact not only ourselves, but on everybody else.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
It's Festive Friday at the Bridgetown Night Market at Pelican Craft Center. Kick off the weekend this Friday from 4 p.m. to midnight with loads of food, drinks, and entertainment. Get ready for Crop Over with the Rhythm Roots Street Parade. Party like it's Kadooman Day on the street around Pelican Village with costume reveler, music, and more. It's Festive Friday. It's Festive Friday at the Bridgetown Night Market at Pelican Village Center from 4 p.m. to midnight. Admission free.
To regional news now, with the confirmation of Jamaica's first imported case of the coronavirus, Prime Minister Andrew Holness is assuring all Jamaicans that the country is fully prepared.
Last week, I mobilized the National Disaster Risk Management Council, which is a representative body of all agencies and stakeholders involved in disaster response. The Ministry of Health outlined various risk scenarios and the plans to mitigate them. Already, we have made significant budgetary provisions in support of these plans, and later today, the Minister of Finance will indicate even further provisions should it become necessary. The government has been very proactive in securing the health of the nation by instituting travel restrictions, quarantine protocols, and informing the public. We have also identified and invested in preparing additional spaces for quarantine and isolation. The Ministry of Health has been fully mobilized, and our technical and professional experts and technocrats have been sensitized.
The patient has been described as a young woman who arrived in Jamaica from the United Kingdom on March 4 to attend a funeral. Health officials say they will now move swiftly to trace the persons with whom the patient may have come into contact.
Our main interest and big focus at this point is going to be enabling resources to do the contact tracing. So we would be looking at the transportation that brought the person in, the home situation. We would be tracking where and where this person has been, what kind of events they have attended to, and that will give us an assessment of what kind of risk. Is the risk confined to one home? Is the risk confined to a community? Is it confined to several communities? And we would have to put in measures based on that. Once we have gotten the immediate contacts of those persons, we will be looking at quarantine for those persons. Depending on how many persons are involved in terms of our investigations, then we'll be looking to self-quarantine. And of course, at this time, we would want all our primary care facilities, public and private, to be on alert, because they must get a travel history, contact history from persons that are coming in with any kind of influenza-like illness or flu-like illness, any cough, respiratory symptoms. So I think that is where our aim has to be, for everybody to be sensitized to what is happening.
On the international front, U.S. President Donald Trump today said that the coronavirus outbreak will go away, and he urged Americans to remain calm as cases jumped, and the White House came under mounting pressure to boost its response to the health and economic crisis.
President Trump provided a clue Tuesday on where that financial aid is likely to begin.
We are working very closely with the cruise line industry, and very, very closely. They're taking very strong steps in terms of people going on and going off, but they're spending a lot of money, and they are working very hard, and we're going to be helping that industry. Likewise with the airline industry, they're taking very, very strong steps for people coming into our country, even getting off the planes. So we are working very closely with them. We're helping them. They're two great industries, and we'll be helping them through this patch.
Cruise ships and airlines have been two of the hardest hit industries as customers delay bookings and cancel trips. But details on how much financial help is coming their way is a bit murky. And that's not the only stimulus in the works, though details are light. The Trump administration is also discussing the idea of suspending the payroll tax for 90 days. That would temporarily stop 6% of a worker's gross pay from coming out of paychecks.
That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.